The next guy we have to talk about is Bojan Bogdanovic, who, based off of Mark Stein's reporting, seems like one of the most popular trade targets out on the market. What have been your thoughts on Bojan this year?
He's been one of the bright spots for the Pistons. I think the ability to space the floor, make good decisions when the ball is in his hands is valuable. And Bogdanovic has settled in as a non-premium defender, often at a non-premium defensive position. He's probably going to defend the other team's second best forward. And that's okay. Like that's not. It's not if you could shoot the way he does and you can make decisions the way he does, then you will live with that. Now you do run into an interesting parallel with John Collins of like he makes good teams better, but he's not going to transform them. And I mean, for example, like he was just on the Utah Jazz. He didn't necessarily transform the Utah Jazz, though their offense, I think, has been underappreciated, the success that they had on that end of the floor. And so I think that Bogdanovic, if they're not asking for an absolute massive premium, you could do that. And then the other sales pitch for teams with Bogdanovic is, yeah, he's athletically limited and he's a little bit older, but his contract is very reasonable. And that's the nature of the extension that he signed. I think this is kudos to Troy Weaver for making it happen. A flat $20 million for next year, and then that partially guaranteed $2 million after that. That teams can be comfortable with that. It's not too long of an obligation. It's not too rich of an obligation. And it's not an expiring contract where, oh God, we have to negotiate with him. So if you could do it for a late first that you're confident isn't going to be a premium one, yeah, I could see that being interesting, especially if you have salary that matches that isn't players that really help you a lot. Like, yeah, if you're trading 20 million in guys that are in your rotation for Bogdanovic, then you're less willing to give up that kind of an asset.
Dell Treasure in the YouTube comments just kind of brought up an interesting structure here.
Okay.
I wonder if there is something to Bojan to the Hawks, John Collins to like a third team, and then the Pistons get like a first round pick. Atlanta maybe gets like an additional first round pick, and the third team gets John Collins.
Oh, if we have both Bogdanovic's on the same team, that would be fascinating. And I mean, there's also the quote from
it like makes sense though, right? Like a little bit.
Yeah, I think Bogdanovic is a better fit. Like if you think about the offensive kind of like the focal point being Trae Young and the idea that it's very hard to maximize two pick and roll bigs, then Bogdanovic can function in that framework a lot better. Even if you want to argue John Collins is a better player, Bogdanovic is a better fit. And so then is another team going to pay that premium for the upgrade of that John Collins provide? If you do that, then you probably have enough resources in the trade to make it worthwhile for both the Pistons perspective and the Hawks. I don't know necessarily who that third team is, but it is conceptually possible. Sure. I like the idea.
I wonder if the Thunder makes some sense there. Like the Thunder have this cache of assets where they could theoretically try and get like a John Collins. He fits really, really well with a Chet Holmgren, in my opinion. DJ in the YouTube comments now says, why not John Collins to Detroit? I mean, he fits a lot of what Troy Weaver likes on some level.
He does.
Too.
Nate Duncan and I talked about that recently on our pod. We got that as a reader question. And I think he fits better with Isaiah Stewart than with Jalen Duren, depending on how you want to do it, just because then if the other big can't space, you're running into a problem like the Hawks have run into where it's like, oh, you want to involve that guy in the action, and then John Collins isn't going to be happy. But I do really like John Collins as a pick and roll partner with Cade Cunningham. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. There could be something to like a Bojan Collins structure. The Hawks would have to get more. It could allow like the Hawks to maintain being good, attempting to be good, maybe is a better way to put it now, while also adding some future assets moving forward. That's intriguing to me on a real level.